Hello, great people of YouTube. Little different content for you today. If you don't know, I'm a little bit of a car enthusiast. Not really car, but truck enthusiast. I want to talk to you guys today about what I think are the two most reliable four-wheel drive vehicles that have ever been produced. These are both great candidates for a overland rig. They're fun to drive. They're extremely reliable. We're going to dig into them. I'm going to talk to you about each of these vehicles, tell you what I love about them, what I don't like about them. I'm going to ask you which one you would choose, and then I'm going to tell you how much I paid for each of them. So it's going to be fun. Before we get into these two trucks, I want to tell you guys about a really awesome nonprofit organization that's out there doing good work for veterans, all right? And it's called SOAA, the Special Operations Association of America. They are actually going in and lobbying in the halls of Congress for veterans to be able to file their disability claims. Out here, there are tons of veterans that are trying to file their disability claims and they cannot get any help. I know, you've probably heard stories. It can be a freaking nightmare. I want to give you some numbers here real quick just to give you a little reference. In Georgia, there is an estimated population of 625,251 veterans. There are only 143 veteran service officers in Georgia. So there are 143 people, VSOs, who work for the VA to help 500,000 veterans. These VSOs are responsible for helping them file claims. There aren't enough of them. That's one VSO for every 4,372 veterans out there. So go to SOAA.org, check them out. They've got a ton of resources on there. If you feel led to donate, donate. They're doing really great work, and they're doing it the right way. They're getting stuff done. They're also advocating for veterans to be able to use professionals in the private sector to help file their VA claims, so we're not reliant on an actual VA employee to get the job done, which right now that's not possible. So they're trying to make all these things possible. It's a big deal, man, and if you're a veteran out there, you served your country, thank you for that. And if you got hurt, if you got injured, if there's something freaking wrong with you because of something you did while you were serving, part of the contract that you had with your country is that you would be compensated for that. So if you're one of those people, go check SOAA out at SOAA.org. I just wanted to let you guys know they reached out to us, told us about their mission, and I thought it was much needed, so I wanted to let you know on the channel. So let's dig into these trucks. The first one right here, this is the Ford F-250 Super Duty. This is a 1997 right here. This is actually my wife's truck. I know, this is my wife's truck. I'm kind of jealous. I absolutely love this rig. This is what Ford calls the OBS, or the old body style. One of the things that's awesome about these OBS Fords is the fact that they have an all steel body, all right? So you're not gonna find a bunch of plastic fender flares, plastic bumpers. You guys know all the new trucks are covered in plastic. These things are solid steel. They are built for work. They are built for work all the way around. One of the things I love about this one, you have 2 fuel tanks in the truck, so you got a ton of range with this truck. You have leaf sprung suspension, which doesn't give you the smoothest ride, but it's really, really simple and easy to work on and modify if that's what you choose to do. We have the original camper shell on this truck, which makes it a great rig if you want to lay down back there and sleep, if you want to store gear, whatever. You've got tons of room. The beds in these things are humongous, all right? This particular truck is a one-owner truck. It spent its whole life in North Georgia, garage kept, and it's got about 115,000 miles on it. It is probably the cleanest example of one of these old OBS Fords that I personally have ever seen. And up front here, one of the hits on this truck is that the F-250s came with it's this weird front axle, and it's kind of like a scissor shaped, all right? And it's supposed to give you a little bit better ride, but it doesn't really do that. So it would have been nice if these F-250s would have come with a solid front axle instead of that scissor kind of axle. I've heard a lot of people have had problems out of them. So that is one thing that I don't like about this that would be a hit on it. But man, this thing is a solid hunk of metal. And going on the inside, it's actually a really comfortable truck to drive too. The inside of this particular truck is pretty much a 9 out of 10 if you wanted to judge it based off of one that was coming straight out of the factory. It's really easy to kind of make some more modern upgrades with the stereo, the radio, backup camera, Bluetooth, all that's been done on this particular truck. The seats in this thing are pretty comfortable to ride around in, take long trips in, and overall, it's just so much simpler than any new truck that's being put out on the market today. It's a balance between simplicity and comfort, right? So you get much older than this and you start to really lose a lot of comfort in terms of ride, in terms of the way the interior's set up. But you get much newer than this and it's just too freaking complicating. Now, the one thing that makes this truck in the running, at least in my opinion, as one of the most reliable 4x4s that's ever been made, is this right here, the Powerhouse. This is the legendary 7.3 liter diesel engine made by International. This is not a Ford engine. This is made by International. It is touted to be, known to be, I think proven to be one of, if not the most reliable diesel engines that has ever been produced. These engines are overbuilt and they don't make a ton of power. They make enough power to be fun to drive, especially if you put a tuner on them. But they were overbuilt, and with the amount of power they made from the factory, they just didn't make enough power to destroy themselves. And there are plenty of examples of these 7.3s out there that have went 500,000 plus miles with pretty much just regular maintenance, all right? This engine is going to outlast the entire truck. There's no diesel emission systems or any of that crazy crap on the old 7.3. This one does have the turbo on it, so it does make enough power to get up and go out on the highway. But overall, man, just in terms of reliability, it's just a solid example to show you guys. And this is something, a good base that you could start with and build off of if you didn't want to keep it original like this one and make it really something special in terms of an overland type vehicle. So the hits on this thing, it doesn't have a solid front axle. It would be better if it did because we're stuck with the leaf sprung suspension. Again, that suspension system is simple, but not the best ride in the world. Interior is nice and comfortable enough to take long trips in, and it does have the legendary 7.3 in it, which it's just, man, it's just a beast. There's not a diesel engine out there that sounds like this 7.3. I mean, let me crank it up for you real quick, just so you can hear it. Stand back over here. Just listen to this thing. I mean, I mean, there's just not, they just don't sound like that anymore. This one also has the hydro tuner on it, so you can go in between modes. We just run it on factory stock because we're not trying to, again, we're trying to preserve the drivetrain. We're not trying to put more stress on the engine than it was made for. So, love it. All right, moving on to my truck. And what I think is the most reliable 4x4 vehicle ever made, the Toyota Land Cruiser, and specifically the 100 series Land Cruiser. All right, we're talking about reliability here. You guys know I have a 60 series. That's an example. The 60 series Land Cruiser is an example like I was talking about earlier, where if you go too far back and you get too old, yeah, they're really simple, yeah, they're reliable, but man, they're really, really hard to take long trips in just because you don't have any kind of creature comforts in terms of modernization. So this is a good mix. This is a 1998, so these are very close in age, a 97 versus a 98. What do I love about the 100 series Land Cruiser? Well, one thing I love about it is this truck doesn't draw a lot of attention. You drive that thing over there, man, and everybody is gonna, well, not everybody, but most of your butch construction workers are gonna turn and really, you know, give you the look, right? This thing right here does not draw a lot of attention. It looks like something that a soccer mom would drive, and unless you are familiar with the legendary Toyota Land Cruiser, you're not really gonna know what you're seeing, all right? Kind of a hit on this, we talked about the Ford being all steel. These did come with plastic bumpers, both front and rear. I do not like that. If I was going to make one modification to the body or the outside of this vehicle, it would be a aftermarket front and rear bumper, all right? This vehicle is full-time, four-wheel drive. It has both a high and low position. The 98 in particular has the rear locking differential from the factory, so we do have that. Up front, we have independent front suspension. Now, you guys can say what you want. A lot of people love leaf sprung, or they like straight axle with the coilover like the 80 series had. But this independent front suspension on this 100 series, I'm telling you, man, it will just absorb the terrain, the bumps, the ruts, the you know, washboard gravel roads, whatever it is. This thing off-road will give you a smooth ride. It's not, in terms of smoothness of ride off-road, these two are not even a comparison, right? But yeah, this only has one fuel tank. The fuel mileage is crap on this thing. It's got about maybe 250 miles of range. So again, that's where the Ford really shines. We've got two fuel tanks, and we have better fuel economy in the Ford than we have in this Land Cruiser. We don't have much range in this. That's a hit. On the inside, man, you have all of the, you know, the comforts of a luxury vehicle on the inside of this thing, which is pretty cool to have a vehicle that is so capable off-road, but you have all the comforts of a luxury vehicle. You have heated seats, you have electronic controls on your seats, you have all kinds of, you know, buttons and switches and power windows and sunroof, and you've got the leather. It's just a really comfortable vehicle to ride in, especially to be this age, right? Moving around back, something that I've always enjoyed about the Land Cruiser is it has a tailgate, man. When you open this thing up, you got tons of room, and again, these also come with a third row that can fold down. I don't have it in right now, but you have a tailgate on this truck. And all rednecks like tailgates, right? A lot of things happen on tailgates, you know? A lot of good things happen on tailgates. And I can't stand a truck that don't have a tailgate on it. So this is one feature that I love about the Land Cruiser. We have a solid axle in the rear, drum brakes in the rear, same on the Ford. Now again, just like the Ford, because we're talking about a reliable 4x4, not only is the Land Cruiser built for work, if you compare components of the Land Cruiser to other comparable vehicles like tie rod ends, steering components, stuff like that, you'll notice real quick all of the components on the Land Cruiser are about twice the size in terms of just thickness and beefiness of any other vehicle that is around this same size and year. But here we go. This is, in my opinion, the most reliable engine that has ever been made by Toyota, the 2UZ FE. This is a 8-cylinder engine. It doesn't make a ton of power. It still has pretty decent towing capacity. I think this thing can tow around 6,000 pounds. But there are multiple examples of this particular engine out there with just regular maintenance going 1,000,000 miles. 1,000,000 miles. And it just works, man. It's got enough power, it's got enough towing capacity, and it just flat out runs pretty much forever if you keep it cool and you keep it lubed up. One of the downfalls to this engine is you'll notice right here, timing belt replacement. You have to replace the timing belt in these engines about every 100,000 miles. That's a pretty big job. That's about an $1,800 job. But I think that that is one of the reasons that this engine lasts so long, is because every 100,000 miles, you're pulling the water pump and the timing cover off, you're replacing the belt, but you're also replacing the water pump and the belts, and a lot of people go ahead and replace the radiator at the same time that they do that job. So you're replacing all the cooling system every 100,000 miles, and if you guys know, the reason most engines don't end up lasting, especially if they're engineered properly, like the 7.3 or like this 2UZ, the reason that they end up blowing up is because people don't change their oil and they don't keep them cool. This right here though, again, in my opinion, it is the best engine Toyota has ever made, and yeah, you just aren't going to find anything better out there in terms of reliability and the power that it puts out. So this is my Land Cruiser. Again, this is a great platform. This is just a good stock example, and this is a good starting point for you guys to go in if you want to buy one of these and build something out with some significant overland capabilities. Now I want to know, which of these two would you guys choose? If you guys were thinking about reliability, if you were thinking about building out a overland rig, this one, way funner to drive. This thing right here, man, everybody else thinks you're a soccer mom. It doesn't have that nice growl, that rattle that diesel engine has. It doesn't have near as much power, but this is the one I would choose. What would you choose? Drop it in the comments. And everybody wants to know, what do we pay for these things, right? Everybody wants to know. This Land Cruiser right here had 133,000 miles on it when I purchased it. It was a 2-owner truck. There's no rust in this truck. Maintenance was kept up with and showed on the Carfax report. I paid $22,000 for this truck about 6 months ago, I guess it was. This truck right here, again, was a 1-owner truck, garage kept, pretty much its entire life. Maintenance was done at the Ford dealership, and there were records to show that. Plus the modifications that it has. It does have a lift kit and all the upgrades to the interior to give it that more modern, comfortable feel inside. This truck right here, $35,000 for this truck. So that's a pretty disparaging difference in price between the two. They are both pretty hard to find. There aren't a lot of them out there that haven't been beat up, that don't have miles piled on them. So Either example, if you find a good one that's been kept up with, that's been taken care of, you're gonna pay a nice mint for it, all right? So get over it. That's what I paid. I'm happy that we have both of these trucks. What's your favorite part about your white truck, Boo?
The way it sounds.
The way it sounds. Yeah, me too. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see more content, we've got some more pretty cool vehicles kind of lingering around here. So if you want to see more vehicle content, just let me know and we'll keep it coming. Hope you guys got something out of this video. Love you. Enough said.